Welcome everybody to episode 7 of the Business Live podcast by Food Circle Supermarket. I'm Paul.
I'm James.
And we are looking forward to this one. This is episode 7 with Loro Crisps, who are a Sheffield-based business, but originate from a more exotic land. They are from Colombia.
I thought we were going to reveal that when we start, but it's okay. We've given it away.
Well, yeah, we've given it away now, but that's okay, isn't it?
And they're actually one of our suppliers, our brands that we work with as well, which is brilliant. So our customers, if they're listening to this, might recognise Loro Crisps from our website, which is great.
Absolutely. No, it's a really good one. We go into loads of detail. Our first female entrepreneurs as well, which we didn't really want to make a big thing of, but it all comes out in the podcast as to why we are going to make a bit of a big thing of it. And no, it's a really good one. We know for a fact everyone's going to enjoy this. We're going to take loads of value from it. So we hope you enjoy it. Let's get on with it. We don't. People don't want to hear from us. They want to hear from the brands, mate. Episode 7 is here. And today we're going to say a big hola. We're going to say a big que pasa to Daniela and Natalia from Loro Crisps.
Yeah, lovely to be here, guys. Thank you for inviting us.
Hola, yes, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem at all. We're excited for this one. So people that are obviously customers of ours and followers will know that we have recently launched an amazing vegan snacking inspired by the incredible country of Colombia brand that has actually gone really well. And you guys will know because we recently just purchased a pallet of your stock after the initial trial went so well. So our customers love you, and we thought, yeah, exactly. Our customers love you, so we thought, wouldn't it be amazing to have you both on our podcast to tell us the story of your brand, how you guys started off in business. I know you got some other things going on as well, Natalia. So yeah, we just want to jump straight into it really and learn more about you guys, how you started off, and in particular, you're our most exotic guests we've ever had because normally this is a very Yorkshire podcast, but we've changed it up today, and we've got from across the globe.
Yes, very Yorkshire centric.
We are Yorkshire lasses as well, so exotic Yorkshire lasses.
I think that's why, like, Loro Crisps is so exciting. Like, we are Colombia, like, from origin, based in Sheffield, but we are selling pretty much everywhere in the world. So it's quite an international brand, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a brilliant product, and I think what we've found with our customers, we sort of we wondered how they'd get on with the the flavors being named after areas of Colombia and things like that, but it's gone down really, really well. So people are obviously in tune with it, on board with the brand and everything. I must say that the product looks and tastes fantastic, but the branding and the packaging is super brightly coloured, lots of different flavors. So yeah, it's working really well.
Thank you. So should we start from the beginning, Nati? Should we start telling like the story of how did Loro Crisps actually came about? Because I feel there's a lot of stories behind it. So back in 2017, I was a student at the University of Sheffield, and I was working at the front desk of the enterprise zone. So I was just working, like, getting paperwork stuff and like a part-time job. And Nati was one of the co-workers at the space. She was one of the entrepreneurs working. And we became really good friends, and we started talking, and we saw we had the connection of working in Colombia, but also like having this entrepreneur spirit. So Nati had her own business, Pura Panela. And do you want to tell more about Pura Panela, and then we'll continue with
another product in our range?
Yes. So yeah, I had a Pura Panela, which is a completely different business and a bit more difficult to get the message across to people. And people kept asking me. So Pura Panela is a natural alternative to refined sugar from Colombia as well. and people kept asking me, okay, this is great, but what other products do you have? So I always kind of had in my head, oh, Colombia's got such a range of different things. I would love to kind of bring more things. And Daniela was working in the enterprise zone, and she was also thinking, oh, I would like a business that I can bring something from Colombia. So she started talking, and then it was kind of the perfect synergy.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
exactly, like I remember I wanted to start a business. I just didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something. And I knew the whole mission of what I wanted was to connect Colombia and the UK. And when Natalia came and we're like, well, why don't we do something? So then we started looking at products, and I don't know why we talked about it, like, well, plantains are quite famous, and every time Chris, Natalia's husband, go to Colombia, he loves plantains. And my best friend that's been to Colombia twice, when she came back with a bag full of plantain crisps. And I was like, well, we might have something here. So we started looking at suppliers and looking at everything else, and then the question was like, okay, we need to make this a brand, but what's the name? And
Yeah.
I remember after a lot of talking and procrastinating, we ended up watching a YouTube video of parrots eating plantain. And it's honestly, it's like funny cat videos, the same, but with parrots. And we ended up hours looking at these videos. And I was like, Natty, well, parrots eat plantains. Loro means parrot in Spanish. Why don't we just call it Loro Crisps? And I remember in the enterprise zone, there was like this parrot mascot that we saw there. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. And that's how like the name came about.
And
And
it was so ugly. It's nothing to do with the actual parrot that we have at the moment. It was like a puppet thing, like full of hair, and it's really ugly. But it was a really fun kind of moment for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
and I remember like we talked and we found out that when we both were growing up in Colombia, I had a parrot as a mascot, and his name was Pepe. And I remember like it was just so natural to us just having like exotic parrots that we never thought that could be like something we could like make it a brand and like something that represents who we are. So that's how the name and the brand came about. And I remember the first time we talked with the people that did our designs, and we told them that we wanted each packaging to represent a parrot and a region of Colombia, and to be colorful and exotic and fun, and people to see it and think about Colombia. We honestly thought we were going crazy. We're like, how the hell are we going to organize a parrot in a packaging? But I think they managed to do it quite well. So yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, really well.
Each
Yeah,
packet is got a parrot. I don't know if you have spotted it, but on the side, each one is a different parrot. Like we have guacamayas, and so it's really fun for people to see. And as we come up with new flavors, it's like name the parrot or find the parrot, which is quite good.
yeah, it's good to
That's
have,
fun.
it's good to have a mascot and engage people, because I would imagine, I don't know, it's a question that we should ask you really. How does the UK market respond to the sort of the Colombian side of it? Is there a big sort of Hispanic element in this country that's part of your customer base, or do you think it's people from over here sort of wanting to try something a bit different?
Do you want me to answer or
yeah, you can.
Daniela go?
Yes,
Oh, not
either.
Well, the idea, we have a lot of plantain crisps and products that are very native to Colombia, and always, or the majority of the market has always been targeted for the Latinos or for the ethnic community. So you find that the packaging is not a big player in the products. A lot of those communities know the products already, and they go to their ethnic shops and shop for them. So what we wanted to create was a communication or a way of communicating the message of the great product that we had for a more British or international European consumer. And that's why the packaging is so different to what you will find in the ethnic shops for similar products. But of course, people who are Latinos or Colombians in the UK have been very happy to find the product that they know, that they can feel, that they can recommend to their English or British friends, and they can feel that they can communicate that message. So we have had a mixture of both, and it has been great because the support from our own communities and also new markets for us, it has been really important.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, like what we were trying to do is that if you take tortilla chips, it has been in Mexican generations forever, and it's the same with plantain crisp. We didn't invent plantain crisps. We just changed the branding to make it appealing to everyone and not just people that know what they are. If you go to the Moore market, you'll find plantain crisps, but only if you actually look for them. And what we were trying to do with the branding is just to make it fun for anyone to try, not just for people that already know what a plantain crisps is. So that's been quite an interesting, challenge and strategy.
Yeah, that's cool. What were your inspirations behind that? Because when you were describing, then I completely understand your point, by the way, of sort of marketing it and branding it in a way to appeal to like a broader audience, stuff like that. It made me think of Levi Roots, reggae sauce. So did you have any inspirations like that? Was he one, or were there others as well?
I think for me it was Natalia with Pura Panela.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think, it was. I mean, we've been really lucky to have amazing support from a lot of our international entrepreneur friends. We're really close to Will from MacDog, and we've seen how he's brought a little bit of Malaysia to the UK. And we have seen, like, in the UK, such an international and open-minded community that it's been really nice to see all of people accepting these new products. And there's a lot in the market, chickpea puffs or quinoa, all of these things, they are not native to here. But just when we change the branding and make it appealing, it became part of the UK consumers' like standardized shopping list. And that's what we want plantain crisps to be.
Yeah, it's been amazing. When did you launch then? What year, what date? And were you still at uni when you launched?
No, in the pandemic we launched.
Oh, God. I thought you'd been going for before then.
Well, sort of.
Yeah. So you launched officially?
Yeah, officially only last year. We were not trading for a while, just setting up everything because, we had to bring full containers of the product, so it took a lot of work to get everything right. But yeah, the launch only, like the first container only arrived last year, in the middle of the pandemic. And yes, we already finished uni. We are actually, both of us, we are lawyers, by the way, so we are like a completely different thing. Like but yeah, interesting twist.
That's I didn't know that. Yeah, that's amazing. So you're doing the lawyers stuff and launching a brand at the same time?
No.
So you're full in on the brand?
Yeah, we study law.
Okay, got you.
Long time ago, we are, that's kind of our profession. But then I set up my business, and Daniela was doing a master's, and then we finished uni and got all that done and kind of forgot about it, and then set up a business.
You've gone into the crazy world of entrepreneurship, which is what was the launch like then? I mean, the pandemic, we speak to a lot of brands, and there's been a lot of new product development in the pandemic, which has just been it's been the worst time to launch anything because retailers were like put on hold, weren't they, in terms of bringing new stock in? They're like, hang on a minute, with something weird's going on here. So what was it like for you in terms of launching and trying to get the brand out there and speak to retailers?
I think what Natalia and I, or the strategy we set from day one, was we needed to secure sales before producing the product. Because the product is produced in Colombia. We needed to make sure we had some people behind us before we could before we invest X amount of money bringing a container to the UK. And I think this is when it gets quite funny and are the stories to tell. And it's, for example, the first time we secure a listing, Natalia went to Dubai to get a buyer there. And she didn't even have a meeting with the buyer. She just approached the buyer. We didn't have the packaging. We just had a printed paper with glue on top to make it shiny and a product in a plastic bag. And Natalia went like this to the buyer, and I have no idea what she said, but she managed to secure a sale.
That's amazing.
This is a supermarket, by the way. This is not
Yeah.
just a shop.
And it's our first supermarket, and it's stories like this. Or a year and a half ago, we went to Birmingham to an event to meet buyers, and Natalia met with a Japanese buyer. Again, we didn't have packaging, we just had the product, this time in a glass jar with the logo on top, which actually looked quite nice.
Yeah.
And she tried the product, she got the concept, and that was another sale. So I think that's been the strategy from day one, just securing sales and making people buy the story, buy the whole concept behind it. But it's been challenging with a pandemic, and I feel Brexit, because let's not forget about the B word.
Yeah, we can come on to that I'm sure in a little bit. But yeah, how did that feel then to be getting those sales when you've just not really got a prototype of a product or anything? You've just got like a little sample. How did it feel? You must have thought, this is easy. We can imagine what we'll be able to do when we actually get a product.
It's so easy. Of course not. Well, I just really believe that when you have a good product and people want the product, it's not much that you have to do. The product sometimes it speaks by itself, and it's just having the courage of actually feel that everything that you're gonna present have to be perfect, because it doesn't have to be perfect. And that's a really interesting thing in new product development. If you test it and validate it before you put everything on it to make it perfect, it's actually save you lots of money and work. So I felt confident that the product tasted good and it looked good, and I made up excuses that sorry we couldn't bring the packaging because of this was in Dubai, because we couldn't bring the samples, but it looks like this and it tastes like this and you will love it. And just to kind of, at the time I thought, well, I just want to know if people are interested in this before we commit and before we put lots of money. And I think that's the best way when you're trying to innovate and bring new things. Just testing it like that, it's great. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just a bit crazy.
No, you've got to be, to start any business, you've got to be a bit mental. 100%. I honestly can't agree with that more. You really have. Yeah, there's got to be something wrong with you, because the stress you get put under, the anxiety is, I think we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. It's underrated in terms of what it does to you in terms of that running a business, which is why hardly anybody does it. There's loads of anxieties, there's loads of stresses. And you talk about making stuff up, absolutely spot on. You've got to be ready to do that. I remember when we first launched, we didn't have a warehouse, we didn't have any storage unit. We were putting stock in our garages, and I was on the phone to suppliers, like trying to get listings, trying to get stock. And I'm saying, oh yeah, it goes to our storage unit in Sheffield. Like just completely making it up, because I had to try and get products somehow.
Yeah. Saying we'll arrange the delivery. Don't worry, we'll handle that.
Yeah.
So you don't know where
exactly
it's going.
the same with us. Yeah, no, we'll talk to our communication team. That means us.
Yeah.
And they say fake it until you make it, and it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we learned as well, I don't know if you found this, is that kind of you have this kind of not insecurity, but this sort of almost like a complex about being brand new and small and not having these things in place. But actually, people deal with people, and if they like you, they don't really mind whether you been around for 10 years or 10 days. It's kind of like, if you've got something that people want and people are interested in, and they like you as a person, you can get your passion for it across. I think that's the key.
It's true. And Daniela and I, we had the opportunity to go to China. We didn't have the products then either.
That was even worse.
In plastic bags with a logo and just like that. And we had amazing meetings, amazing opportunities there. And when we did the networking, I remember once Daniela was quite overwhelmed, because it's a lot of like important people that you think. But I remember having this conversation with her and saying, people are just people. When it comes to it, it doesn't matter what title you have, or just with a smile and with a conversation, it's all you need to do. It doesn't really matter. People are just people. And it was quite a good, interesting thing for us since the beginning, just to kind of get that straight.
Yeah. 100%.
I think that was it was a really good learning point for me, mainly. Like, we were there in a room full of like 50 white British men and Chinese, and Natalia and I were the only woman. We were the only ones, or I was the only one under 25. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, how am I making it this much? And I remember I watched my face and I was like, okay, you can do this. Sometimes it's just people get a bit scared, but at the end of the day, there's someone that goes back to their house to have dinner like any of us and watch TV like any of us, and and we always find like a conversation point.
There's some really good points there to pick up on, actually, that I'd like to ask you about. So obviously you two, you're a partnership, working together. How does that work between you? Because I know that, well, first of all, how important do you think it is to have that partnership and to have a co-founder? Because Paul and I, obviously, we're sort of, I don't think we'd be able to do this on our own individually with the skills and the personality that we've got, but doing it together, obviously, we've got that. We're quite different people, so we've got that broad range of kind of skills and personalities. So would I be right to assume that you two are the same? And then another part to that question really is, you mentioned sort of being the only women in that room of sort of white British men and Chinese men. What's that been like as sort of women in business? How do you think that's either helped or hindered you, or what are the challenges of that? I'd be interested to hear about.
Go on, Daniel.
So I think first the partnership, and I feel we've worked really well because we complement each other in things that are crucial. So Natalia is excellent with sales, and I am better at marketing and creating the brand, which you need both to grow a company. And then on the other side, little things like I am a morning person, Natalia is a night person, so we cover all of the hours of the day for any market in the world, which is great.
That's good.
Or I am a bit more organized, but Natalia is more like a goer and let's take every opportunity, while I try to measure more the risk. So we balance each other really well in that sense. But at the same time, we are both completely crazy and we believe in entrepreneurship. So in that way it works. And and in terms of women in business, it's been interesting, let's call it that way. I think we've found a couple of things being women in business and being people that our native language is not English. It's been interesting to do in the UK. We've had scenarios where we felt that people don't like that we are not from here. And it's a bit challenging to prove yourself as a woman in business, but good, it's a challenge. And I mean, we really like that, I think.
Yeah. What about you, Natalia? What's your take on that?
Well, in terms of what Daniela said, is very true. We complement each other, and I set up my other business by myself, and it's been so great to have somebody else. We have achieved so much quicker because we are a team, because the decisions can be made together, because Daniela ground me and she's very organized and she's very, we complement each other. Sometimes I just go a bit crazy and I need pulling down to earth.
That's me out of us two. That's honestly, it's the exact same. You need that 100%.
It's a perfect team, and it has what I feel the difference, having been a solo founder and now being with Daniela, it's just so much nicer, so much better. I just love it. And in terms of being a woman, I always, when I talk to other women who are in this position, or people who are foreign coming into business in another country, I always say that you can use these things to your advantage, because the fact that you sound different, sometimes if everybody else is the kind of white male and you are different and you sound different, people remember you more. So I very early on, I'm not gonna say it's always been like this, because of course you have your fears and you're like, oh, I don't belong here, but overcoming this and understanding that actually this is an advantage, because you are different, because you sound different, because you are a woman, and just understanding how much value that can add has been really important for me, and just actually daring to do things rather than, I've been in panels where I'm the only female person invited, and sometimes you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do it, and you tend to kind of try to not do it, but for me it's like, just do it. It doesn't matter. Just ignore everything that is telling you that you don't supposed to be here or whatever, and just go for it. Take the opportunity.
Yeah, that's more of a reason to do it, I'd say. You know, we've got enough male white British voices. We need something different.
Yeah, that's so important in starting a business as well, as not caring what people think. You've got to get rid of that. If you're going to go into business and you're like vulnerable to judgment and people, and you're a bit vulnerable about what you're doing, and you think that you shouldn't be there, then that's going to be a struggle. You need to just like get rid of that and just go for it.
Can I say something really interesting? Sometimes when I invite my husband to meetings and we are in like an event or a dinner, I always notice that when people come to talk to me about business, they start talking to Chris, like instead of talking to me, like they instantly assume when it's a male in the business, or when we're doing stalls or things, like always to him, and he's like, no, actually I don't know anything about this business, is her, and just point it's the unconscious bias as well on people. You have to really tackle head on.
That must be frustrating.
Yes, it must be. I was actually gonna say because you are our first female guest, and I was gonna say that in the intro, but then I was like, it shouldn't really be a thing to say, really, should it? But at the same time, I think it's like, is it less than a third of entrepreneurs in the UK are female?
Yeah, according to the Rose review from last year, less than 1/3.
Why do you think that is? Do you reckon it is that just natural, just feelings like that's like, I shouldn't be doing this because it's not the done thing? Or is it something else?
I have a thought on this. I read some research about how women apply for jobs and how men apply for jobs. And for a male to go for a job, even if he doesn't tick all the boxes, he's very likely to apply and blag it a little bit and go like, oh, well, I don't have this, but I could do it, and apply. Therefore, they're more likely to get those jobs. Whereas for females, we tend to try to tick all the boxes because sometimes we have to be twice as good to even be considered. So for female, in our own way of applying for these things, according to the research, you have to really kind of tick all the boxes. Therefore, sometimes you don't get even considered for these jobs. So I believe it's a correlation between that and the confidence and all you need to actually think, I can't do this. And also you only you become what you see. And if we don't see enough female or women in business who are successful and the successful stories, it's difficult for other women to believe that they can do it. But that's just my
and I think things are changing for the positive now. I mean, if we take Bumble, the CEO of Bumble, for example, she was the first woman carrying a baby that put a company in the stock market. That's quite a statement to do. And I think like things are changing for the positive, and it's just up to us to understand that we are at the same level. I remember in China, there was this guy talking in a group, and I wanted to join, and they just didn't like see it interesting that I joined the conversation, and they started talking about golf, and I am quite a keen golfer, and I joined the conversation and I was speaking their language, and then they pay attention to me, and I was like, you know what, I actually speak your language too. So
exactly. I can imagine that's the case.
Yeah.
I bet they were like, "Oh, you're not going to know anything about golf," and then
Yeah,
you start
better than
talking
you.
about it, and they're like, "Oh, no, what's going on here?"
Well, you'd be a lot better than me in that
Ridiculous.
situation because I'm useless at golf.
Yeah, you don't know anything about golf, do you?
I don't know. The
But I
very
think
first
it's
thing
just
about it.
speaking everyone's language, and it's the same, for
Yeah.
example, with us with like importing, exporting. I had to learn all the intercoms, like words and stuff, because I had no idea what that was. But once I knew it, I could fake it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think hopefully things are changing. Obviously, I won't feel it as kind of acutely as you guys will because I'm not in that position. But I think for us, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but we've been recruiting quite a few people lately into our team, and whether people are male or female or whatever, like that's never even occurred to me. It's never really been a thought in my mind. It's been, let's look at what sort of person they are and what skills they've got. So I think our generation and then, future generations, as long as we keep making these small steps where these biases are starting to get chipped away at and eroded away, I think hopefully, in future generations, we'll get there to a point where, these biases are pretty much gone, hopefully.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about unconscious bias is that because we are not aware of them. So I think a lot has to be done for us to acknowledge them. So don't assume, oh, I don't have any bias. It just acknowledge that we all do. And by acknowledging that and starting from that position, then you are able to implement changes to remove them. Because if you don't acknowledge them, that's where the problem gets bigger.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Have you heard of Sarah Blakely and her story?
No.
It's amazing. I would 100%, and this is for anybody listening. If you're interested in entrepreneurship, check out the How I Built This podcast.
Yeah.
Just type in How I Built This into your podcast platform, and there's some amazing story that pretty much inspired us to actually start a business. Genuinely.
Yeah, I'm actually reading that book right now.
Oh yeah, it's a book, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good book. It's extremely long, but it's good. It's really, really, really good book.
Yeah, I'd like to get that book. Actually, I've got it on my list to read in the future. So yeah.
But she did an episode. Yeah, yeah. She did an episode. Sarah Blakely, who is Spanx, isn't it? The business,
the founder of Spanx. Yeah,
and she's sort of the torchbearer, I think, for female entrepreneurship. She's amazing. Her story, and it's that same attitude. She just didn't give a shit. It was just, I'm just going to go for it. She's dealing with men in manufacturing plants in the States and stuff in like the deep South and that, where it's like there is that prejudice. And she was just like, I'm just gonna go in with confidence and just deliver. And it's all a mental thing, isn't it? Yeah. It really is.
Yeah. Is she the one that talks about power poses as well?
Yes. Yeah, she does.
Well, I love power posing. That's the best thing. Before a sales meeting, you ask me, how do you do these things? And are you crazy just going with no product? Power posing before.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's something that I have to channel sometimes because I'm probably a bit more like you said earlier, Daniela, where you kind of have to psych yourself up and build yourself up for these moments where you're in front of other people and you maybe feel like you're a little bit out of place or whatever. Because I have a sales background before doing this as well, and I always had to sit in my car before a meeting and just get myself mentally ready and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a great technique.
It's interesting when I'm in a room with lots of males, you can see them sitting like this or spreading, and I do the same. I sit like that. And then it's just great because then you make yourself bigger and in their level, and they start taking you more into account. It's quite interesting. It's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
That's really. I don't think I've ever seen a female do that in a meeting, and if I did, I was like, fair play. That's brilliant.
I do. Yeah. Or I sit like this. I put my hand just behind and my other hand here, and make myself like as big as I can. It works. It works.
Yeah. And I remember in China, everyone was like drinks after, like all the guys and Natalia and I were like, yeah, sure, let's go. You have to be like that. We just need to understand that right now it's just equality and anyone is capable of anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So you launched in the pandemic. You had that container come over. So you start to get listings before you launched. When did you launch, and how did that go? And where is it taken to you now, almost a year on?
So I think the container arrived to the UK. I think it was in October. We had some samples before, so we had like 4 boxes before, and we were using them quite wisely, only for buyers. And I remember Natalia had to like stop me from eating them. But we managed to secure a couple of like sales from there. So we managed to secure, I think it was like 3 pallets from the 10 we brought that were secured by buyers. And then that was absolutely incredible. After launching in Spinnings in the UAE a month, they ordered a second pallet, and we weren't expecting it. And then a week after, a 3rd pallet, and we were like, oh my God, what's going on? And then because that went so well, we managed to talk to a couple of other people, and yeah, I think we were speaking today that we managed to sell pretty much everything, and we were a bit scared that we were not going to be able to do it, because obviously the pandemic meant that it was a bit harder to get into new UK retailers.
Yep.
They are not really that open right now as they were probably before for products like ours. When we started, we saw our products like in a fancy meal deal, and obviously people stopped going to the office, so they're not having meal deals. People want to get a flour to make bread.
Yeah.
So we were not in the right moment, so we had to look at other options, like you guys, or like, for example, subscription boxes. That one has been doing really well for us, looking at all of these other ways to sell that is not just at a supermarket, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I bet that was and that part you just said, you were worried that it wasn't going to all sell. That's just entrepreneurship in a nutshell, isn't it? And starting your own business and brand. Things very rarely go the way you expect or go to plan. I mean, you're solving problems every day. You're putting out fires every day. And yeah, we had a very similar experience when we started, because obviously we buy in stock and we have to turn it around quickly because it's always short dated. So we've had it where we've committed to a load of stock and then gone, oh shit, this isn't going to sell.
Yeah.
That happens. That happened a lot in the early days. And you've got to take failures on the chin. You've got to be open to failing. It sounds mad, but you've got to have that mentality where you're ready for something not to go. You're actually expecting it to go wrong, so that you sort of build up a resilience to failure, because that's just what running a business is.
Yeah, but opinion. Daniela was a really good push for us to decide to bring the full container, because I was a bit worried, thinking, oh, maybe we bring half and see how it goes. Because of the best before date, I was quite concerned with that. And she was like, no, just bring it, because bringing a full container costs pretty much in terms of transport of bringing half, because you pay for the whole thing anyway. So just invest the rest in the product, and if it doesn't sell, we give samples or we do something, And she was like, don't worry, we will find a way. And because obviously festivals and things weren't going, because that would have been a way of actually getting traction and getting rid of the product. But yeah, I'm glad she did push for that, and we brought the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Calculated risk, isn't it? It sounds like you've taken the right risks in the right places, in a sensible sort of way, to get to where you've got to, and that's resonates with us, because that's exactly what we had to do as well.
There's a thin line sometimes, I feel, with the risks.
Yeah.
And as entrepreneurs, people think you need to have like no risks, and you need to be not scared. No, you do need to measure risks, because at the end of the day, like this is life. You need to measure risks, but is until what point you do it, and until what point is like logical or not. You are not absolutely losing it.
Yeah. I feel like it's a bit like, I don't know, almost like climbing an escalator or something like that, where it's kind of moving up like that, and you have to kind of keep everything in check, in balance, kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it really. It's almost like you have to push the business past where it is almost, and then let everything catch up. That's what risk's about, I suppose, isn't it? Like pushing a little bit more each time, until the business like grows, and then pushing a bit more the next time, stuff like that. Really bad analogy probably, but that's how I sort of think of it in my mind.
And
No,
I think
I
like
get
having
what you mean.
and having a co-founder is perfect for things like this, to analyze risks and like just say, okay, this is my point of view, which is your point of view, let's try to measure it and see it from a different perspective. So yeah.
How does that work between you? Do you ever disagree on direction, or do you ever have any moments where you sort of, one wants to do one thing and one wants to do it really differently, or do you generally sort of come together and manage to come to a compromise?
Well, I think we mainly are in the same page when it comes to where we're going, so that makes things easier because we have a vision very clear to where we want to be, and how do we get it there is a little bit more controversial. But I don't feel we have disagreed a lot. Perhaps I am very stubborn, like I don't give up. So I'm like a dog with a bone. So Daniela sometimes have said to me, just leave it. You have to just understand that not everything has to be done, and you can't just leave it. And I'm like, no, I won't leave it. And perhaps sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I am very stubborn, so that's maybe a problem.
I liken it to the business partnership like a marriage, and the business is your child. I think that's how it goes, really. There's a bit of give and take sometimes in any partnership, but it's all for the good of the child, I think. It sounds a bit weird now.
But it is true, like 100%. And I feel that's why it's really good starting a business with someone else, and someone that complements you. And exactly like what Natalia was saying, she's really good at just like getting every single opportunity. But I'm like, Nati, if these doors close, let's look somewhere else. And she was like, no, let's open the door. So trying to like balance this out, but it's worked so far. So
good. Yeah, I'm horrified to think what that would look like if there's a child that was half me and half Paul. I don't even bear thinking about. Anyway, let's move on.
You guys are doing quite well, so
it must be going okay. No, it's my number one piece of advice to anybody that wants to start a business is to find a co-founder. We were saying it to someone the other week who was asking for some advice. They're starting a business, and it was like, look, you need to find a co-founder, because you get that synergy. There's very different people. You can have different strengths and weaknesses, and also the mental aspect of it, which I'm always going on about, is shared amongst two of you. So I think it's too much to take for one person. I'd be interested in what you think, Natty, with that, because I was talking about that stress and anxiety. To have that all in one person for me, I wouldn't be able to do it. No chance. Because say I'm feeling crap one day, James might be having a good day that day, and it can make you feel better. Likewise. So does that make? Do you think that's true, Natty, with that in terms of the mental aspects?
To be honest, with Pura Panela, it has been really hard. And mainly because that product is not a very easy product to market, and also it's a very artisan product in Colombia. So there are a lot of issues with logistics and things that I wasn't really expecting. So I have had failures that I have felt so horrible about. I feel like my resilience have been tested to the limit, and it really helped to have my husband, because I don't think I could have done it without him. He's like my co-founder, if you like, because every time I'm struggling and I just want to cry and give it all up because these moments happened, he's been there and he's been brilliant. And my mom and dad, they are entrepreneurs as well, so they understand where I'm coming from. So when I'm having issues, I always kind of go back to them and ask their perspective, and they help me to kind of bounce back. But it's been really crazy and very upsetting at times. So I think having Daniela has really made hold whole difference in the way I do things. Even if we during the pandemic, it's a shame because we have set up this business and we haven't been in the office together sharing things. But you know, she's always there and we talking and stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend to anyone to do this shit on their own because it's so hard.
No,
Absolutely.
and I think it's been good to have a co-founder to take breaks because sometimes you just don't want to work. And like there's this thing that entrepreneurs need to be working 24/7 and wake up at 5 a.m, have a protein bar, go for a 20K and continue. That's not realistic. That's not how it works. And people get ill. I remember when Nati was in Colombia, she got really, really ill for a couple of weeks and I took on board. And there's times that I've had family problems and then Nati takes on my work. And it has to be like that because if not, there's just non-stop.
Yeah, and it can make you ill if you you can only do that for a certain amount of time. I mean, we've really like you know, really what's the word, like worked to the limit really. We've only just started sort of recruiting a team over the past sort of 6 months, and we were doing pretty much everything. Like we packed the first 35,000 orders that we got in the business, like just the two of us. At one point we had Paul's dad in out of retirement to help us out. It's just, and you get to a point where you just can't do it anymore, you know, like mentally and stuff like that. And it is difficult to then go to that next stage, but it's got to be done because it's not sustainable, and you can't continue as a person, you can't continue as a business just doing that, what you said, like being pretty much 24/7, like never stopping, never having a break. It just can't be done.
Yeah, no, it's 100%, and it does make you ill. I'm actually going to the doctor's at 2:00 today for an ear infection, and I'm convinced I've had like I've never been ill, but this past year we've been so busy. We've just worked to the limit, and I've had like little bits wrong with me. And James, I've had this ear problem for ages. I'm convinced it's because of stress, 100%. Yeah. It just runs you down.
And we keep forgetting things as well. I don't know if you've got that when you're like so busy and you got stress and stuff like that.
That happened to us this week, didn't we? We just started talking about something. I was like, wait, have we just forgotten about it?
Yeah, you just forget things, and you're like, did I do that? Is that like a different? Is there a different version of me doing these things that I've completely forgotten that I've done? It's like, it's weird.
It is. It does get too much, and people go. Like with us, we've obviously got ridiculously busy. Like, and people that aren't in that entrepreneur or aren't really close to you are like, oh, what's wrong with you? You know, turn over £1.5 million a year. You must be loving it. It's relaxed. You mustn't do anything. It's like it's complete opposite. It's just, and in fact, the busier the business gets, the more stress, in my opinion. And that's when you. Like I'm welcome to all our members of our new team, by the way, if you're listening to this. That's why we've had to hire people recently, because it got ridiculous. And hiring people's a whole other bloody thing as well that we could go into.
And I think it's also like the importance of having a good support system. This could be friends, family, partner, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is, like, starting a business, it just doesn't stop at 5 p.m. No. There's nights that I go to bed and I have 1,000 different things going on in my head, and I'm like, Patrick, I just need to talk to you because I need to get it out of my brain so I can sleep. So you do need to have that support system too.
And I always believe that you have to really listen to your body. So sometimes if I just don't feel like I want to work, if it's not something that I really need to get done, that feeling guilty doesn't help. So just say, I'm not gonna work this morning, and I don't care. I just don't want to do it, and just listen to that, and don't feel guilty because of that perception that you have to be working 24/7. Just don't do it, and don't feel guilty.
Don't judge
yourself. It goes back to like understanding yourself, and when you work properly, like. I am not good at working after 4 p.m. because just my brain is tired, but you make me work at 6 p.m. and I'm perfect. Well, Nati is the other way around, and that's fine. And I think that's that mentality that you need to work from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Just work when your body is ready to work.
It's important to have coping strategy, and definitely that thing about getting stuff off your chest as well. That's crucial. some people start podcasts to deal with that. But anyway.
Yeah, we have it some
Here
days.
we are.
We'll say to each other, like, I'll say to James, I feel like shit today. And we'll talk about it. You have to be able to do that. But and I'm making it sound, I don't want to put people off from starting a business, but you need to know, because it sounds like I'm always conscious of this. Every podcast we do, we talk about mental health and stuff, but it is important and you need to be ready for it, but motivated at the same time. But it's madness. But you guys, you really make a good point about partnerships and all that sort of thing. And I think for the last 5-10 minutes, I wanted to touch on the Latin American entrepreneurship community in the UK. Is there one, or do you guys feel as though you're sort of flying the flag for Latin America entrepreneurship and brands, or is there like a community that we don't know about that you guys are in and you bounce ideas off and stuff?
Well, not really. There's not like that many Latin American entrepreneurs that I know of. However, there is a massive international entrepreneurs community. And I feel being an international entrepreneur gives you a lot of resilience. When I moved to the UK, I didn't know absolutely anyone in London. And I moved to London after having really bad mental health problems in Colombia. And I was dropped into this massive city, and it built so much resilience in me. And you need that as an entrepreneur. And there's so many examples of really good international entrepreneurs that have been successful. A lot of the companies nowadays that we think about are done by migrants, and I feel that's why, which is quite an interesting way of seeing things.
I will say there is a very crucial difference between entrepreneurship in a country like the UK, where you have a welfare system, where people have the opportunity to study, to go to university. The jobs market is quite big and interesting, and the entrepreneurship that happens in Latin America and especially in Colombia. So I would say it's an entrepreneurship of opportunity and an entrepreneurship of necessity. And that's very interesting because, in Colombia, if you go to Colombia, everyone is an entrepreneur because they have to. There is no other way of doing things. So you see things of people being on the streets, selling fruits, selling juices, selling vegetables, wherever you go. You see entrepreneurship everywhere, but that doesn't mean that they are businesses that are going to thrive or are going to become big businesses and scale. But everybody has that spirit in them because there is no welfare system and there is no support. If you translate that into the communities here, for example, if you go to Elephant and Castle in London, for example, you will find the same. You will find Colombians doing things, selling things, setting up business, stalls, all these interesting things that happen in those communities. Also, maybe small business like entrepreneurship in smaller scale. So people who perhaps have a career, but they are living here and they couldn't find a job in what they do. So they start a hustle kind of thing and selling. So yeah, I just find very interesting the contrast of these two types of entrepreneurship. Is very interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like that spirit's kind of built into you already.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't know if fortunately or unfortunately, you can see it from both angles, I guess.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both, I would imagine.
I've heard that about India. I think India is officially the most entrepreneurial. I think it's like 80% of people have their own business there or something.
Yeah.
Because they're sort of forced to.
It's really interesting. If you ever go to Colombia, I remember one of the things that my best friend found really interesting is that you won't see people begging on the streets, like begging for money. You'll see the people cleaning your window or selling, I don't know, crisps or dancing or doing something to get money. They won't see people begging. And at the end of the day, that's some sort of entrepreneurship too.
Absolutely.
It's that mentality of need of entrepreneurship and also opportunity.
Yeah. But what makes me sad about these things is that these entrepreneurship or these entrepreneurs that are full of beans, if you like, and if they had the opportunities to really have enterprises that were able to scale and become something, but often these are very limited enterprises, and it's actually not quite fair. So that's why I'm not, well, I don't know, maybe it's too political for a podcast.
No, it's not. It's
it's so you're saying maybe like the support should be there for people to, be given the tools to do that.
Well, the thing is, it's very different to set up a business in the UK, where you have all these support systems, where you have opportunities like a business which, like for example yours, that you started in your garage and you were bringing the stock and whatever, but the business had the opportunity to scale because you were not perhaps hungry or having to you had support systems in place, whereas if you are only selling a few things on the street because otherwise you wouldn't feed yourself, it's like a cycle that doesn't get you anywhere. So this fallacy of thinking that everybody can become a millionaire tomorrow, you just need to start selling crisps in the traffic light, actually that's not true, because it's very rare that happens, because it's a cycle.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, I think I'm really enjoying this, and I wish we could go on forever, but Paul's got to go and get his ears sorted out shortly. So we'll squeeze in another last point, I think, and then we'll have to wrap up if that's okay. So last question: what would your advice be to anybody that's trying to start a brand and trying to launch a brand and get it off the ground? Because we sort of rely on other people's brands really to attract customers for the most part. So what would your advice be for anybody trying to get a brand off the ground?
Just go for it. Just go for it. And I think that's the thing, like, just go for it. Like, I remember when I thought about starting my business, I was like, what's the worst thing that can happen right now for me? I have a place to go. It's fine. It's fine. And I think with brands, you need to have a very clear vision of what you want. Even though when we first started with all the parrot concept, I honestly thought we were going mad. But you need to have a vision at the end. And I think for me, that's my advice. Just go for it and test it. And if it doesn't work, start again.
I said before, get a parrot because it's quite fun, but it's a joke. I think the most important thing, if you want to create a brand, it's understanding what a brand is. Because a lot of people think, a brand is how the product look like and what logo you have. But actually, that is not true. A brand is who you are as a business and how you are going to represent that brand. So is that brand going to be playful, colorful, professional? Is it going to be serious? Is it? And once you have all those things set up, then you have to make sure that every day that you work on that brand, you communicate that message and that brand becomes a thing, because it's not just a logo, and you build that every day. It doesn't happen one day to another, and you test it and you will see really what your brand is, and it hopefully will match what you have in your head. But a brand is a lot of different things. It's not just the logo.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got an amazing brand. I encourage all our listeners, check out Loro Crisps on our website and our store, and Pura Panela as well. Instagram, Loro Crisps, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok.
Yes, TikTok. I'm on it now. I'm really enjoying your guys' TikToks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking at the behind the scene ones you were filming. I think it was yesterday or the day before.
Yeah. You need to get some parrots on your TikTok. That would pop. Honestly, you'd go viral. I'm not even kidding. You need to do it.
I'm going to Colombia for summer, fingers crossed. And honestly, I just have so many ideas of different TikToks I'm going to do.
I honestly, I'm not even kidding. I would recommend you go all in on TikTok. I think it'd really, it'd be amazing. I think it's a perfect platform for you. So yeah, anyone listening, be ready for Loro Crisps and Pura Panela's TikToks. They're going to be amazing. But no, honestly, that was so good. I really enjoyed that, and I'm sure there'll be so much value for our listeners and customers to take away. Thanks very much, guys. Or should I say muchas gracias?
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Yeah, Natalie, Daniela, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Really great
Thank you,
conversation. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you both.
We'll have to do part 2 sometime.
We will 100%.
Thank
We'll
you.
have you back on.
Thanks very much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Okay, take care. Good luck in the doctor's appointment.
Oh, God. Thank you very much. Our customers are going to, and listeners will be asking how that went, won't they? Now?
Yeah.
How did Paul's doctor's appointment go on?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Good luck, guys.
Bye.
Speak later.
You
Bye.
too. See ya.
Gracias, adios.
Bye-bye.
Right then,
That was
all
enjoyable,
done.
wasn't
That
it?
was
Yeah.
Loro Crisps, Daniela and Natalia. Thanks again to both of the ladies for coming on. Absolutely brilliant podcast, I thought. Great
It was great.
discussion, really enjoyed it. Pleasure to have them on as well.
Yeah.
Both gave some great insights and some great answers to our questions as well.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. It was one of my favourite ones. I'm not even just saying it. That was brilliant. It was great. Loads of stuff to take from that. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you did enjoy it, then feel free to leave us a rating, a review.
Yeah.
Is that the word?
5-star.
5-star. if possible.
5-star rating, yeah, please.
Always open to feedback. Get in touch with us on our contact form on our website if you want to give us some feedback. Anything else?
This podcast was sponsored by Kayo Nutrition Nut Butters. Kayo Nutrition are an incredible brand that we now work with. And by sponsored, I mean they're just, the brand of the week.
We just want to give them a shout out.
Yeah.
They've not paid to be on this. But yeah, we've got their nut butters in stock now in several different flavours, haven't we?
Yes.
Which are?
They are salted caramel, milk chocolate, white chocolate, and crunchy peanut butter. So
Indeed.
Yeah.
And a shout out to Zaid, who is our contact.
Cheers,
there.
Zaid.
And somebody that I've not spoken to, but by all accounts,
He's a good guy.
top guy.
Yeah, the top fella. Thanks, Zaid. And we've got, we actually now know who's next on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next up is Jamie Crummy from Too Good To Go.
Yes.
He's going to be on our next episode, that's going to be fantastic.
Definitely, yeah. We're going to be talking about food waste a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a great story because Jamie has built a fantastic app to help people to take advantage of surplus food, to buy surplus food, and to allow brands and retail stores and shops and factories and any other place where food is available to make their surplus stock available via the Too Good To Go app. I would really recommend it. Magic bags.
Yeah.
What do you
Magic
want to
bags.
say?
I was going to say, save this for the podcast.
Good point.
That was like a trailer, modern day cinema trailers where they just pretty much show the film before you get to watch
Yeah,
it.
sorry about that.
That was...
Maybe we'll cut some of that so that we don't just give it all away. But yeah, no, we want to hear about Jamie's story, which I'm sure we will, because we don't know all about that yet. We do a bit, but we'll expand on that.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
So yeah, hope you enjoyed episode 7. And yeah, we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.